Where does Henry go from here? Because he lost every round, Adam.
Henry's looking 38. I keep banging on about it in these lower weight divisions, don't I? About guys that when you get to 35, it does start to slow down. It does start to become a little bit more of a task. We said it on the show last week, mate. I think his retirement was one of the worst decisions in MMA history because he was flying. Multi-weight world champion, just beat Don Cruz. Maybe he did it for leverage, maybe he did it to get a few more quid, whatever. But he's gone away, he's taken 3 years out the game. He's slowing down. You saw it.
If he's going to continue at 38, the title ambition is completely over.
Paddy Pimblett taking on Michael Chandler.
Michael Chandler's going this way, Paddy's going this way. You're catching him on the decline. He's fought all the top guys, but like you just pointed out, he's lost most of them, Adam. And I think if I'm Paddy Pimblett, I'm chomping at the bit for this fight. I'm over the moon. It's a chance for him to really get a big win against a big name.
We had this conversation, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago about superstars in the UFC. Where are they? Where's the superstar? Ilia could be that person. I mean, the way that he's operating and the way that he's talking, the way that he carries himself, it does remind me a bit of the Conor vibe, man. It does. So if he can go up and he can take on Islam Makhachev and he can deliver something that maybe Conor delivered in 2016, that's your next superstar for me. Welcome to Uncaged on the talkSPORT MMA YouTube channel. I'm Adam Catterall. It is a pleasure to be in your company and in the company of this man. Look at him, bright and breezy, sun shining on his back. He's got a massive smile on his face. The one and only Mr. Brendan Loughnane. How are you?
Do you know what? I'm getting used to these time zones now. So just as you're waking up now, I'm already one session in, Adam. I love it.
You already been in the gym, have you? You've already done a bit. Done your press-ups, ready for the day?
Sauna, steam, brand new, mate.
Listen, I can always read you like a book, my friend. When that social media starts to up the output, when I see you in that gym, when I see you at TK MMA, there's an announcement coming. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling that there's something coming, Brent.
Adam, stop
people
poking
are going to
me.
be excited.
Stop poking me, mate. Let me just get on with it.
Let me just enjoy myself.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Listen, lots to get through. We're also going to be talking about the big announcements that happened last week, where you've got changes to the main event at UFC London. Paddy Pimblett's taking on Michael Chandler, and a couple of other things involving a featherweight called Ilia Topuria. But we'll get to all that a little bit later on in the programme. Let's have a little bit of a look back at what happened at the weekend. Eye pokes, stopping the main event. The actual event itself in Seattle, I thought was absolutely tremendous. Great win for Modestas Bukauskas, kicking off the card with a fantastic knockout. A horrific knockout suffered by Javi Basharat. But all in all, I thoroughly enjoyed the event, mate. Knockouts were flying all over the place.
Well, they were, Adam, and I'm going to bring in a stat now. Because
Here he is. Look at him now. He's been up early. Go on, son.
Because I might have to take it back about the glove situation. Because the first 5 fights finished by TKO, 5 in a row. It's got to be some sort of record that for the UFC. 5 in a row, TKOs, just as they bring the new gloves back or the old gloves back. So maybe you were right.
I'm very rarely wrong, brother. I'm on it. The other flip of it, the reason why they originally switched those gloves was, in their opinion, to try and eradicate the eye pokes, which kind of then leads us into the conversation at the main event, doesn't it? Yeah. Because we do have, obviously, a situation where the fight ends because of a horrific eye poke. But my argument was always been that the UFC sell those holy SH1T moments. That's what they sell. That's what people are turning up for. They want to see it. And the gloves that they switched to at UFC 303 had stopped that, or they definitely affected the data surrounding that. Yeah. And we've seen over the last 2 weeks that those holy cow moments are back, my friend. And at the weekend, they were back in big fashion. Like I said, for people like Modestas, tremendous wins. And he obviously moves forward in the light heavyweight division. And fingers crossed this year, he might even end up with a ranking if he gets the right fights. But regarding the main event and the eye poke, it is a bad one. And I've seen the backlash. I've seen people jumping on the back of, obviously, Henry not being able to continue in the fight. I'll talk about the refereeing of it, because I actually thought, normally I'm on here slagging officials off, but I thought Jason Herzog dealt with the situation absolutely fantastically well, but I'll get to him in a minute. But from a Henry point of view, how can you have a do at a fighter if you can't see? It must be the most... Listen, fighting in itself I can imagine being a nerve-wracking scenario, especially if you're Henry Cejudo, you're 38 years of age, you have to win the fight because you've lost your last two. There's a lot of pressure on him. You get halfway through that third round and one of your eyes is incapacitated. You can't actually see what's happening. You carry on the scenario for a minute to give it a go. You realise this is a blooming bit of a stretch. Health and safety of the fighter comes first. Now, you might have a different attitude being a fighter, mate. But for me, I have absolutely no problem with that fight ending because the fighter couldn't see.
Right, me too, Adam. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the picture that Henry's posted of the eye.
It's a bad one, mate.
It's about as bad as eye pokes get, really. You know, it was deep. I mean, if you've not seen it, anyone who's watching, please go and have a look online now at Henry Cejudo's eyes. It was looked like an excruciating one. And when them things happen in fights, I've been there with the eye poke. It puts your equilibrium all off. I mean, I've been there when you can see four people in front of you. You're not seeing one, you're seeing four. And with the stakes of the fight and where Henry was at, I think it was a good stoppage. But I think it's, where does Henry go from here? Because he lost every round, Adam. You know what I mean? And the age.
Yeah. On one of the judges' scorecards, he did lose every round. I think two of the judges gave him the first round because there wasn't that much action going on. He definitely lost two. He definitely lost three. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. And from his point of view, with the way that he fights, depth perception in a fight is very, very important. So if he's lost that through his eyesight, then he can't really do much about it, can he? What does he do from here? Well, I think that because it's an inconclusive ending, I think the obvious is to roll that back. I'm sure Song Yudong would want to roll it back because of the stature and profile of Henry Cejudo, and he'd probably want a more conclusive ending to really, boost his profile going forward. So that would probably be the most obvious thing going forward. But if we actually look at the 15 minutes of data that we saw, or should I say 13 minutes before the eye poke or whatever it was, Henry's looking 38. I keep banging on about it in these lower weight divisions, don't I? About guys that when you get to 35, it does start to slow down. It does start to become a little bit more of a task to be able to do what you've always done. When Henry, we said it on the show last week, mate, I think his retirement was one of the worst decisions in MMA history because he was flying. Multi-weight world champion, just beat Don Cruz. Maybe he did it for leverage. Maybe he did it to get a few more quid, whatever. But he's gone away. He's taken 3 years out the game. His life's changed outside of the game as well because he's become a dad. All these things have changed for him. So therefore, that's changed his mentality and the way that he approaches stuff. And now I'm not saying he's cutting corners because I don't think he is. I think he is going full throttle. But he's slowing down. You saw it. You saw it in the octagon at the weekend. He's slowing down. He's just it's just half a beat. Half a beat off in his head. It's probably still there. But he's not seeing it like he used to see it. He used to be rapid. His hands used to be rapid. He used to be able to get in and get those takedowns. Song was just beating him off like a fly, mate. So there is a serious question as to whether Henry continues, because if his ambition is to try and get back to the top of the tree and challenging the likes of the Mirabs, I think that's gone. If he wants to have some fun with some fun fights with lower contenders, I think there's some there for him. But top of the tree, I don't think it's there, based on the 13 minutes or so that I saw against Song Yudong, who's number, 8 in the world and has already lost against the top guys like the likes of the Pierre Yans of this world. That's where I'm at with Henry.
Yeah, you made some great points there. And also, I think we should revert back to something you said previously on here regarding these veteran fights and fun fights. Do you know what I mean? I just think that if he's going to continue at 38, the title ambition is completely over. So he can't be delusional now to think that he's going to be the world champion again, especially when you're fighting number 8 and you're losing every round, at least on one scorecard. So I think fun fights, put Henry in with some fun fights. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but you go back to the stats, 38, 135-pound fighter. It's not looking good, Adam.
No, it's not. Just on Jason Herzog, who refereed that situation. Well, firstly, imagine this, right? If Henry, when the eye poke happens, if Henry stops the fight there and doesn't continue the last minute of that round, it's a no contest. That's the result. But because he continues the last minute and fights with blurry vision and completes the third round, you then have the possibility of going to the scorecards to read out a result. So by fighting for that extra minute, by being brave, he cost himself a no contest result. That's what that would have been. Regarding Jason Herzog, I thought he absolutely dealt with the situation brilliantly. Spoke really clearly to Henry, let him know every piece of information that he needed to know, gave him all the time in the world, was clear with Song, sit here, sunshine, we're going to deal with this. He was clear with everybody around the outside of the cage. I didn't get the starting of the 4th round. I don't think we needed to do that, but listen, he knows the rules better than me. Maybe we did need to do that, I don't know. But the completing of the 3rd round then obviously indicates that we're more than halfway through the situation. So we go to the scorecards, and that's why Song Yudong comes through on that technical decision. But I just wanted to highlight that because normally I'm on here, mate, slagging officials off, aren't I? Judges has got this wrong. This referee's had an absolute nightmare. When they do it right, I think it's only fair that we say, listen, man, fair play to you. You dealt with that situation correctly.
You know what? I've had Jason a few times, and I actually believe him and Mark really are the gold standard. They're the gold standard within MMA officiating. And, you know, even I didn't know that after having this many fights. I didn't know that if it went to a certain point of the fight, that it would be judged from there. So, I mean, yeah, it's a really tricky situation because I wish now Henry will watch that back and think, why didn't I just take a knee? Why didn't I just go for the no contest? Do you know what I mean?
I'm sure that he's having that conversation this week. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think Henry, as a competitor, will want to go again. He'll want to try and rematch Song Yudong. But like what you said a minute or two ago, mate, what we saw within that 13, 14 minutes before
exactly.
the talk, he looked a beat off it. We highlighted him last week. He's now 7 on the spin.
Yeah.
He's the low-key rider in this division, mate. He's doing bits. He's fluffy. He's coming for them all.
You are absolutely bang on, mate. I wasn't very aware of him either. And after watching him, mate, he's a super impressive fighter. Like you say, he's been flying under the radar for how long now? And we did say against Brendan Allen this will be his coming out moment, and it was.
Where do we go with him now? Because we do have that weird bottleneck at the top, don't we? We seem to have everybody in line waiting for the champion. Do you give him one of... This is going to sound horrible because I love a couple of the lads that have been champions previously, but is it that next for Anthony Hernandez? Is Anthony Hernandez then talking about a former champion from a profile point of view in order then to boost him even further?
I think so. I think he's shown he's capable. Is it 7 on the spin now, Adam, if I'm right?
Yeah.
7 on the spin in a very tough division. It's time for the big dogs.
Time for the big dogs. We'll keep an eye on Anthony Hernandez because he is making some serious waves. Another lad that's making some serious waves, I just want to highlight him because we did point him out last week. He's Jean Silva from the Fighting Nerds gym, headed by Kyle Barallo. He was on this card and he was just as devastating as he always is. Plus, he chucked a little dance in at the end of his victory, didn't he? He did the business. He's a very, very vicious fighter. I highlighted. I was watching this fight actually with my son yesterday. And I said, "Here, watch this guy here. Watch how patient he is. Watch how he waits for his moment. And when the opportunity comes, blooming out, man, he didn't half detonate."
Mate, honestly, I don't know what's better, his fighting style or his dance moves. What an exciting, what an exciting guy now we've got in this division. Super explosive, patient, like you said, and he could be a real contender. I'm looking forward to seeing the journey of this fella.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not going to spoil the prelims for everybody because, as Brendan said at the start of the show, there's knockouts galore on there. So if you've not seen the action from Seattle, because I know that everybody's attention was maybe on the boxing at the weekend, if you're a Fight Sports fan, rightfully so, go and check out the prelims and definitely go and check out John Silver from the main card in Seattle because there's a lot to get excited about there. Bombs away, as they say. We've had a few changes for UFC London. I say a few changes. We've had one main change for UFC London. A lot of changes actually came from Dana White last week regarding other cards, UFC 314, UFC 315. We kind of know where the title picture is in the welterweight division. We know where the title picture is in other divisions as well. But the main thing for British fight fans is that Leon Edwards isn't fighting Jack Della Maddalena anymore. He's going to be taking on Sean Brady. Sean was originally in that conversation when we were talking about prospective opponents for Leon, for London. I think Jack was a fantastic fight that a lot of people could get excited about because they kind of thought this is going to play out on the feet. It's going to be a bit of a striking contest. I think we know what Sean wants to do. And to be fair to Sean, since getting pieced up by Belal, weirdly, on the feet, he's bounced back, he's got back on the horse, and he's looked really, really good. So I think he's earned his opportunity to fight at the top. I don't know how it's going to look stylistically because I know what he wants to do. He wants to get hold of Leon, and he wants to do a bit of grappling, doesn't he, pal?
I think this is a much better matchup for Leon Edwards. I feel like Sean stylistically is going to have to try and get in closer distance, take Leon down, and smother him, and get the submission because he's really, really good on the ground, really efficient. But barring the Belal fight, Leon has shown incredible takedown defense. He's great with his range and his distance, and I feel like this is a much better matchup stylistically for Leon.
Inactivity is going to be a thing, I think, in this fight, isn't it? Because I think Sean's only had 3 in 3 years, which I don't think is enough. If you're going to be a top contender, you've got to be out there on a regular basis, keeping the machine oiled. And obviously, we haven't seen Leon since the middle of last year. It's going to be an interesting first 5-10 minutes, isn't it? If that rust is still there for either of these guys.
Yeah, 100%. And I think inactivity is the biggest killer of anyone's career, really. I feel like, we've talked about it time and time again. We just talked about it with Henry. You can't sit out, man. You've got to be active. It's too long out to be a contender in the top of the division, and to come back against someone as dangerous as Leon Edwards. I think stylistically, Sean, it's going to have a tough night. I was really looking forward to the Jack Maddalena fight, Adam. I don't know about you, but I really was.
No, massively.
And
massively. I thought the matchup was brilliant. How do you think Jack's going to get on against Belal?
Well, we sit on here and we write off Belal Muhammad every time, don't we? I'm not doing it anymore. I think Belal's going to get the job done again. I think this is we talk about styles, and I think again this is a good matchup for Belal. I think Belal with that relentless pace, 5 rounds, it suits him more than over the 3. And yeah, we write him off, but he's got an odd, awkward timing. And I really think, I don't know, I would have preferred to see Leon and Jack as a fight fan. But I understand why they made the changes. And I just think them 2 fights now, they're not as good as it would have been if it was Leon and Jack.
No, and I think the reason why they've had to make that change is because Shavkat's not available, mate. Shavkat Rakhmonov was the guy, wasn't he? He was going to be fighting Belal. He said that he's not going to be available, whether that's because of Ramadan or whether it's because of injuries or whatever it may be. He would have been the opponent, I think, for Belal. Jack versus Leon would have been sensational. I think the winner of Jack versus Leon would probably have then got themselves back in the mix for that title picture, wouldn't they? But it's not to be. It's going to be interesting to see how welterweight now plays out because Shavkat's still there. The shadow of Shavkat is still looming in the background, isn't it? So whatever happens between Belal and Jack Della Maddalena, you would think that Shavkat's getting the title shot next. So for Leon and Sean, you've really got to perform. This is the key thing now. We've said this previously, haven't we? It's not about just winning when you get to the top level and you're looking for a title shot. You've got to do it in a way which really gets people excited, gets fans on the edge of the seat, and obviously makes Dana's ears prick up because he's in the business of making the best fight for the fan, I suppose. So if Leon comes through 5 rounds, wins 5 rounds, 50-45, it's a Leon Edwards standard run-of-the-mill performance, is that going to be enough to prick the ears up? Or is one of them moments that he delivered against Kamaru Usman going to be more favourable for him? Can he jump the queue if someone gets injured? He's in a good position because he's the former champ, of course. He's got a history with Belal if Belal comes through. So he's in a good position. It's just about putting the performance together in London, isn't it?
Yeah, it's most certainly. And I also feel like if I'm Belal Muhammad and I get the phone call that Shavkat's out and I've got to fight Jack, I'm absolutely over the moon, mate, because who wants to fight Shavkat? He really is that guy in the division, isn't he? He really is that guy. He's the boogeyman. And if I'm Leon Edwards now, I'm going out and I'm putting a number on Sean Brady and I'm putting my hand up and going, listen, it's me next. I'm getting on the mic and I'm dropping it on the floor. And I'm saying, give me the Belal. We've had the back and forth. Let's go. But we know if it's only right if it's Shavkat, though. Let's have it right, Adam. Like, he's the guy. Yeah. He is the guy in the position who's earned it. But from a selfish UK MMA fans' point of view, we want Leon, don't we?
In the next couple of months, another Brit, Paddy Pimblett, taking on Michael Chandler. Listen, it's been rumoured for a long period of time. I've kind of known it's been on the cards for a bit. I know that other fights have been floated around for Michael Chandler and a couple of others were floated around for Paddy Pimblett. But we're at that stage now. He put in a performance against King Green, did the business. Michael Chandler is a person of profile, a person with a huge name in the division who has meant... Listen, he's had some big fights. He hasn't won a lot of those big fights, but he's still in and around that top 10 bracket. It's a massive opportunity for Paddy Pimblett to really stake his claim moving forward in the 155-pound division. And it's also a big opportunity for Michael Chandler to get his show back on the road.
Yeah, I think personally it's a great stylistic matchup for Paddy Pimblett. I feel like Michael Chandler's going this way, Paddy's going this way. You're catching him on the decline. You know, he's fought all the top guys, but like you just pointed out, he's lost most of them, Adam. And I think if I'm Paddy Pimblett, I'm chomping at the bit for this fight. I'm over the moon. It's a chance for him to really get a big win against a big name, former champion in Bellator, and from his latest performances, is on the decline. And I think, you know, last week we talked about Arman and Michael Chandler. And I just think this is far better. I think, you know, we had a discussion on did Chandler deserve another title shot or to be in the title picture, and I just don't think he does. So I think this is the perfect matchup for us all.
Yeah, I completely agree. Kudos to Paddy. Out in Miami, beautiful place. And I'm sure that that event will be absolutely fantastic with, obviously, Volk and Lopez, the main event for the featherweight title, which leads me on to this question, because I want the inside scoop, man, because I know that you've both got the same manager. I know that you know. So let's have the chat. Ilia Topuria deciding that 145 is no more for him. What's the inside? Come on, give it to me, man. What's he up to?
Well, I don't know, but, I mean, it wouldn't take a rocket scientist to work it out, would it, Adam, what's going on here now? I just think we've been talking about this fight for how long? It is the only fight to make. And, wow, that is my number one behind John Jones and Tom Aspinall fight that I want to see in 2025.
You're obviously referring to Islam Makhachev. It is going to be interesting to see how this does play out now. Because my take on it is, Ilia Topuria doesn't vacate the title without a conversation. Now, people can come up and they can say, oh, he's struggling for the weight and it was always his plan and he's always going to do this. Nah, man, this is not how this dude operates. He's on a different type of trajectory. He's a different type of operator. But you only got to spend 2 minutes in his company to understand that this guy thinks completely differently. There's a conversation that's had. Now, I'm not saying that he fights for the 155-pound strap next. That might not happen. But there will be an opportunity to put him in the picture for the 155-pound strap within 2 fights. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So whether it is, right, go and beat Charles Oliveira, then you're in. Maybe that's the thing. Or maybe you're straight in. There's no way he gives that belt up, walks away from that division without having a conversation about what is coming next.
Yeah, of course.
He's going straight in at the very, very highest end of the 155-pound division. So I can't wait, mate, because we had this conversation, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago about superstars in the UFC. Where are they? Where's the superstar? Now, we were blessed in the around 2015, 2016 when Conor burst onto the scene and he does his thing and takes us to a stratosphere. We've had the John Jones era, we've had GSP, we've had all these greats. Right now, there feels like, where's the superstar? Now, we've got Alex Pereira, but with all due respect to Western fight fans that don't speak his language, it's difficult. We get it. We get the Sharma thing, and he's delivering in the octagon. But where's that person that is working for the English speaking audience right now? It was maybe supposed to be Sean, but Mirab kind of halted that a little bit. Where's that person? Ilia could be that person. I mean, the way that he's operating and the way that he's talking, the way that he carries himself, it does remind me a bit of the Conor vibe, man. It does. So if he can go up and he can take on Islam Makhachev and he can deliver something that maybe Conor delivered in 2016, that's your next superstar for me.
I mean, I've been absolutely ranting and raving about this guy from the beginning. I called it. And he's got that superstardom. He wears the suits. He's a good-looking guy. He speaks very well. Like he articulates himself very well. He's very confident. He's an incredible fighter all round because we've seen guys come in and have holes in the game. He doesn't show any holes. He's got massive amounts of submissions and knockouts, very varied, incredible wrestling. He's the full package. He walks it, he talks it. And yeah, like you say, Sean was the only guy that was kind of neck and neck with him at this moment. And with Alex Pereira and his age, I mean, Ilia's still in his 20s. Like,
only champion that's in his 20s. Everybody else is in the 30s.
It's insane how much.
I say champion. He's just vacated, hasn't he? But
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
yeah. It's insane how far the ceiling is for this guy, and we're all on board to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I can't wait to see what the announcement is for Ilia Topuria. But all in all, Miami looks good. Volk versus Lopez, I'm all in on that, and I'm also in on that co-main event between Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett. We'll give you a full preview as we get a little bit closer to that action. Listen, thank you very much for tuning in to our show. Plenty more to come in the next couple of weeks, because we kind of just alluded to Alex Pereira there taking on Magomed Ankalaev in his next one at UFC 313. We've got a big preview of that coming your way. So make sure you're across the channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. There's lots of stuff coming your way. We're getting you as close as we possibly can to all MMA action across the world. Thanks very much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.